Hello, today is 12/9, and unfortunately, it depends on what hour you're in as to what we ended up doing today. I don't normally do this, but we ended up having a 2-hour late start, so that messed with things a little bit. So for most classes, what you see on here is what we did and our target, and then I'll show you what is different for just first hour. So at the end, if it doesn't apply to you, just stop it because we'll come to whatever we're doing. Whatever we did in first hour, we'll come to that later for the rest of us. Our vocab word is gangrene. This is it's a gross thing that happened during the Civil War until we figured out how to manage it. But it's the decomposition, which you can think of as rotting. The rotting and death of soft tissue, so your muscle, your skin, your fatty tissue area, due to an obstruction and infection. So that's left untreated. So when a bullet hits a person in the arm, it brings in it dirt and germs off people's hands and your shirt material. And then at the time of the Civil War, we didn't have antibiotics. We didn't even really realize what germs were yet. So people, a doctor would come with their bloody hands and start working and getting the bullet out, and then they'd stitch you up thinking you were okay, and then it would seal in that infection, and then it would spread and basically start rotting away at your insides. And then this would turn into gangrene. And you could tell if you had gangrene by smelling where the wound was. If it smelt rotten, that meant you had it, and you had to remove anything that had started to rot, or else it would just spread. And it can give you blood poisoning. It can spread throughout your body, and eventually it will kill you very, very slowly and painfully. So this is why they started using amputations instead, because they just didn't have the time or medical ability with the sheer numbers of people to be able to care for people, to clean out those wounds that well. I mean, on a battlefield, the medics would bring you into an operating area, which wasn't like operating tables of today. Basically, a lot of times had a tent over the top, but it was open, and so there were flies and mosquitoes, and it wasn't sanitary. And they'd take their saw and they'd saw off that part of your body without much of anything for you. And then they'd grab their blade, wipe it off, and go on to the next person. They didn't realize that that was really, really horrible. So gangrene impacted a lot of people at the beginning of the war. By the end, we started to realize that what we were doing was not okay, that it wasn't good for the person. And so we started to make changes. So our medical knowledge advanced greatly throughout this war as doctors tried to save more and more lives. So gangrene, if you want to look it up, you can, but I would warn you, once you see it, you can't unsee some of those. So just, maybe not if you're a little squeamish. I gave that option in class as well. But gangrene, definitely illness and disease get more soldiers in most wars than actual combat. And this is very true for the Civil War. So our target for hours 3 through 7 is to make and record your progress on your Civil War battle map. This is your second and last day to work on this. And so I'm hoping that a lot of us can say we finished, is what I'm hoping. I started by having everyone practice our Quizlet a little bit. Remember, you find that by going into our current purple folder. It's right up here, Civil War and Reconstruction, Chapter 21 and 22 flashcards, Quizlet. Go over those flashcards like twice. We have not covered all of these words, and we don't have a test, this week. I'm looking at a test next Friday, so it'll be a little bit yet. There are lots of words we haven't covered, probably 9 or 10 of them we haven't covered yet. So it'll be some new knowledge, but it's good to get introduced to these words. So as we see them, you already have an idea about them. Kind of prepping for the quiz. And then the second thing that we're working on is that battle map. Right here are the directions. You need your battle map at home in order to work on it. If you don't have it at home with you, then just know that it's due on Friday. Okay? So that's due on Friday. And then there's one other thing I'm going to point out for everybody is that when you finish this battle map, there is an activity you need to do. And this revolves around the directions. I had said that it's really important to read all the directions, and I know our natural tendency is to skip over that and go right to on the map work, because then we can turn in the map. Well, remember I said I was going to ask you questions about the flow of the Civil War. So right here is what you need to do. It's set up like a quiz. I'm treating it more like a worksheet than anything else. So I'll open it up so you can see. Nobody's taken it yet in the class that I'm going to pull it up in. So when you go in to start it, and there is no time limit to it, you can take it as often as you want and go back and forth. You just can't see which ones you got right and wrong. So you'll see the question. You have to find it in your directions. Don't expect to know this from heart. You can look it up in the directions. Having read it hopefully helps you to get an idea of where you might find it at. So you pick which one you think it is and then submit it at the end. So that's the other thing. That is due next Wednesday, so a week from Wednesday. So you have plenty of time, and that is homework to do. Now, if you were in if you're in third through seventh, go ahead and shut off the video at this point. If you have questions, let me know. If you were in first hour, though, we are doing things a little backwards. With the short day, I wanted to stay on our current path and do the Battle of Gettysburg, but it's just not enough time. The Battle of Gettysburg is considered the turning point of the war. So you can see that your target was to list the two purposes of the Gettysburg Address. And we actually got one of them. We did not get to the second one, hence why I changed for the other hours. So Battle of Gettysburg, we just watched a quick video about what it was. I'll try to post that underneath the Gettysburg Address in my purple folder. And then what we did is we went through and tried to figure out the Gettysburg Address. And looks like I'm in my email. Yep, come on over. I wanted to pull up I guess I must have gotten rid of it. Huh. Now you're looking at my screen. I'm not doing very well right now. But if I go into my folder, sorry, I had closed all this stuff up. There is the Gettysburg Address, which changed the meaning of the war. Let's see if I can find it right here. Gettysburg Address activity. I'll publish that so we have it. And then I'll open up to it. It'll take just a second. But we started by watching a quick video about the Gettysburg Address, why the Gettysburg Address was given. And then we listened to the Gettysburg Address. And then I had everybody start doing some searching to find out what some of these words mean. And that's what we have right here, this let's figure it out. So I'd like you to go ahead and, figure out what is 7 years ago. Where did this come from? All men are created equal. What is a final resting place? What's the first purpose of the speech? All the way down to what's the second purpose of the speech. That's a really important one, because if he would have just come to give his first purpose, and I'll give you a hint, they were creating a cemetery for the 20,000 men who had died at Gettysburg. Literally just the sheer numbers, they needed a place to bury them, and so they picked on the battlefield to do it. And so one of the purposes is that we wanted to dedicate this cemetery, and so they invited the president to come do that. He also, though, in this 2.5 minute speech, changed the entire purpose. One, that Northerners were that felt it was worth to fight and die for. So it became a stronger reason to fight and really helped the North to win, in the next year and a half. So try to see if you can figure out the second purpose. A first hour, we're going to come back to that on Thursday and take a closer look. Everybody else will take a look at the Gettysburg Address on Thursday. We're kind of locked into things we need to do the next couple of days, so we'll come back on Thursday. All right, if you have any questions, this was a little different than normal just because I had two different things happening, but you know what? Sometimes you got to modify, make it work. So if you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a great day, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow.